Hey guys, this is Derekus, and this is Channel Zapped. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Birds of Prey collection, Sensei Student. That's this right here. This was the continuation of Gail Simone's run. A couple of weeks ago, I reviewed Birds of Prey of Like Minds. And this is, again, the continuation of that. So this collects issues 62 to 68 of her run with her first run in the Birds of Prey with Ed Benes. This was a continuation of just a great story. Is progressing the characters. The last issue, or the last collection, you saw the introduction of just the dynamics between Black Canary and Oracle, and the bringing in of the Huntress, in the sense of how she's kind of tagging along on some of these missions. This one, it continues the story of the senator that was introduced, that was in one of Savant's blackmail files. Black Savant had some dirt on this senator that was doing all kinds of illegal or unconstitutional things. And this run is bringing the senator in as one of the primary villains. Because what happens in this story is Black Canary, she heads off to Hong Kong to go visit her old sensei who was dying. And that's her story. And then we have Oracle's story, where she is dealing with these computer hacks that's happening, and someone is targeting her, stalking her online pretty much, which is, when you sit and you think about it, you're like, wow, Oracle has a stalker and she can't figure out who it is, and they're hacking into her system. And she's pretty much like, what the hell? So even when she calls like for help, when she calls Batman, and Robin picks up and she's talking to him about it, he was like, wait, what? Somebody's hacked your system? He was like, I'm good. You're magic. And somebody's good enough to do that. He was like, and then they get cut off. So the story is great, because we see Canary in Hong Kong following up with her sensei. We kind of get the backstory of her martial arts training, what martial arts means to her. We get to see, one, just how badass she is continuously throughout this book. I'm like, Dana is a straight up beast. But we have a couple of other players who join the cast as the one of the primary villains, and the kinda sorta villain with Lady Shiva and Cheshire. Cheshire is this character well known in DC lore, particularly if you read Teen Titans, where she was the love interest for Roy Harper, who was going by Arsenal at the time, and they ended up having a daughter together. And Arsenal was the former Speedy, who was the sidekick to Green Arrow. So we get to see Cheshire, but we get to see my favorite character, one of my favorite villains of all time, because it's kind of hard to rate her as a straight up villain, even though she's an assassin. She goes around killing people. But her morals are in line with her philosophy on life and the practicing of her art, which is martial arts. And that's Lady Shiva. Lady Shiva is hands down, supposedly, the most deadliest martial artist in all of DC, in the world of DC. So having her team up with Black Canary, because they both shared the same sensei, it made for a very great interaction, because you see Black Canary hanging out with these two assassins, where one, she's she's on kind of good terms with, as much as one can be on good terms with, Lady Shiva. And then the other one who's just she despises Black Canary because of her relationship with her daughter that she has with Roy Harper. So we get to see their adventures in Hong Kong, them getting into fights, them investigating who ended up murdering their sensei, Shiva's and Black Canary sensei. And we get to see a character that's truly just heinous. In Cheshire, she's a very heinous, wicked, evil, just for the kicks of being crazy. She's crazy. So we get to follow that story, and that story comes back to Gotham City. So we have that one story going on, and then we have the story with Oracle, who, again, she's dealing with the hacker, and she ends up being captured because the senator, he doesn't have a lead on or bead on who is Oracle. He has a list of people who fit the criteria of possibly being Oracle. And the person who pretty much assists with this compiling of this list and trying to discern who is Oracle is Savant, the villain created and introduced in Of Like Minds, who's the one who broke the Canary's legs. So it was interesting. We get to see this continuation, and we get to see this respect between, or it's not between, the respect that Savant has for Oracle, in the sense of, I still want to kill her, but she deserves better than being held and captured by, some nobodies who don't appreciate her intellect, the power of her mind, the things that she's capable of doing. And Savant kind of comes in, and he's like, I can buy you some time, but this is all I can do. So we get that story as Oracle is taken to, I guess, I'll call it a black site, where the senator captures these American citizens, again, thinking that they're Oracle. But we learned that this isn't the first time the senator has done something like this. And so it just falls into that morality, kind of the power of the rich, the things that they can get away with, the things that if you have power, and the ways that you can abuse that power. I find it interesting, and just it's something to think about, at least what I took away from reading it. Looking at the senator, you have that privilege, you have, these means, and it more often than not, I guess, in the series of fiction, or in the way of looking at fiction, most of the time people write them as, being a one-trick pony. There, in the sense of, I'm rich and I'm evil, so this is what I'm going to do. But from this senator, I just really got the sense that, there was a little bit more there, and Gail writes him with a little bit more nuance than it's not your mustache twirling villain, which is cool, which is very good. But in the end, we have these two stories converging, because we learn that Cheshire has ties with the senator, and we also learn who killed Shiva's and Canary's sensei. And they're out pretty much for revenge. Shiva is just pretty much, when I find the person, I am going to kill them. She was just like, I'm going to tell you straight up, Canary, I'm going to pretty much destroy them, decimate them, which is pure Lady Shiva. So this story, and I guess I should jump into the Huntress. The Huntress is brought in on the case, and I hate to spoil this, but her introduction to the team, last time she was called in to help save Black Canary. This time, she breaks into Oracle's clock tower, which is by far the coolest headquarters of any superhero. I love the clock tower more than the idea of the clock tower more than I love the idea of the Batcave. Or I was never really a fan of Superman's, Fortress of Solitude, but Oracle has her own little clock tower that's in Gotham, and it's right there. Everybody's familiar with it, but nobody knows that pretty much the communication center of all of DC heroes is taking place at that time there. Because during this time, and I guess time before that too, when Oracle was on the Justice League, that's where that was her headquarters. So I love that idea. But Huntress breaks in. Oracle is able to communicate, send out an SOS, and Huntress answers, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing in my house?" Basically, and she was like, "Hey, this is what it feels like to have your privacy, invaded." And she was like, "Okay, whatever. You score, point, bet. You made your point. I need help. Come save me." So it was one of those. I love that. I love how that came together. And I'm not going to spoil the end of this, but it was a great run. I love the whole thing, and we get a bit of history also, in terms of this case. Also ties into a case that dealt with Black Canary's mother, an unsolved case from long ago. So I'm not even going to go into that. There's just so much in there, and it's a great story. So I think you guys should check it out. I love this series, and the way it ended with the team coming together saying, okay, we have to work out our quirks. This is what we have to do, and you see the friction between the three, Oracle, Huntress, and Black Canary, and it's great for later on when the series continues. You see that there is that friction, but it comes back together. There's a different methodology of how they all interact and how they have their own way of going about things, and you get the sense of they grow to respect not only who each other are personally, but also the skills that they bring to the team. So I think it's a great series. I think this was a great run. I look forward to going back and revisiting the Birds of Prey to continue doing these reviews. So yeah, Birds of Prey, Sensei Student, Gail Simone, Brian Benes. It collects, again, issue 62 to 68 of Gail Simone's first run on Birds of Prey. So again, check it out. You absolutely will not be sorry that you did. It's fun. You'll love it. That's it. Comment, rate, subscribe down below. Check us out, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, all of that. And I will catch you guys later. Peace. Keep chilling.